After Parting by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. September 2015. Oh, I have sown my love so wide that he will find it everywhere. It will awake him in the night, it will enfold him in the air. I set my shadow in his sight, and I have winged it with desire, that it may be a cloud by day, and in the night a shaft of fire. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. At Night by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. September 2015. We are apart. The city grows quiet between us. She hushes herself, for midnight makes heavy her eyes. The tangle of traffic is ended. The cars are empty. 5 streets divide us, and on them the moonlight lies. Oh, are you asleep or lying awake, my lover? Open your dreams to my love, and your heart to my words. I send you my thoughts. The air between us is laden. My thoughts fly in at your window, a flock of wild birds. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Before a Painting by James Weldon Johnson. Read for LibriVox.org by Sky Albatross. I knew not who had wrought with skill so fine what I beheld, nor by what laws of art he had created life and love and heart. On canvas, from mere color, curve, and line, silent I stood and made no move or sign, not with the crowd, but reverently apart, nor felt the power my rooted limbs to start, but mutely gazed upon that face divine. And over me the sense of beauty fell, as music over a raptured listener to the deep-voiced organ breathing out a hymn, or as one who kneels, his beads to tell. There falls the aureate glory filtered through the windows in some old cathedral dim. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Changeling by James Russell Lowell. Read for LibriVox.org by Michelle Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, September 10th, 2015. I had a little daughter, and she was given to me to lead me gently backward to the Heavenly Father's knee, that I, by the force of nature, might in some dim wise divine the depth of his infinite patience to this wayward soul of mine. I know not how others saw her, but to me she was wholly fair, and the light of the heaven she came from still lingered and gleamed in her hair. For it was as wavy and golden, and as many changes took as the shadows of the sun-gilt ripples on the yellow bed of a brook. To what can I liken her smiling upon me, her kneeling lover, how it leapt from her lips to her eyelids, and dimpled her wholly over, till her outstretched hands smiled also, and I almost seemed to see the very heart of her mother sending sun through her veins to me. She had been with us scarce a 12-month, and it hardly seemed a day, when a troop of wandering angels stole my little daughter away. Or perhaps those heavenly Zingari but loosed the hampering strings, and when they had opened her cage door, my little bird used her wings. But they left in her stead a changeling, a little angel child, that seemed like her bud in full blossom, and smiles as she never smiled. When I wake in the morning I see it, where she always used to lie, and I feel as weak as a violet, alone 'neath the awful sky. As weak, yet as trustful also, for the whole year long I see all the wonders of faithful nature still worked for the love of me. Winds wander and dews drip earthward, rain falls, suns rise and set, earth whirls, and all but to prosper a poor little violet. The child is not mine as the first was. I cannot sing it to rest. I cannot lift it up fartherly and bliss it upon my breast. Yet it lies in my little one's cradle and sits in my little one's chair, and the light of the heaven she's gone to transfigures its golden hair. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Earth to Earth by Michael Field. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. I stood to hear that bold sentence of grit and mould. Earth to earth. They thrust on his coffin dust. Stones struck against his grave. Oh, the old days, the brave. Just with a pebble's fall, gravedigger, you turn all bliss to bereaving. To catch the cleaving of Atropos' fine shears would less hurt human ears. Live senses that death dooms, for friendship in dear rooms, slow lighting faces, hand clasps, embraces, ashes on ashes grind. Oh, poor lips left behind. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Emperor of Ice Cream by Wallace Stevens. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one, and bid him whip in kitchen cups concupiscent curds. Let the wenches dawdle in such dress as they are used to wear, and let the boys bring flowers and last month's newspapers. Let B be finale of seam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. Take from the dresser of deal, lacking the 3 glass knobs, that sheet on which she embroidered fantails once, and spread it so as to cover her face. If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is, and dumb. Let the lamp affix its beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Enough by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. September 2015. It is enough for me by day to walk the same bright earth with him. Enough that over us by night the same great roof of stars is dim. I have no care to bind the wind, or set a fetter on the sea. It is enough to feel his love blow by like music over me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Final Tax by Ellis Parker Butler. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Said Statesman A to Statesman Z, "What can we tax that is not paying? We're taxing every blessed thing. Here's what our people are defraying: tariff tax, income tax, tax on retail sales, club tax, school tax, tax on beers and ales, city tax, county tax, tax on obligations, war tax, wine tax, tax on corporations, brewer tax, sewer tax, tax on motor cars, bond tax, stock tax, tax on liquor bars, bridge tax, check tax, tax on drugs and pills, gas tax, ticket tax, tax on gifts in wills, poll tax, dog tax, tax on money loaned, state tax, road tax, tax on all things owned, stamp tax, land tax, tax on wedding ring, high tax, low tax, tax on everything. Said Statesman A to Statesman Z, "That is the list, a pretty bevy. No thing or act that is untaxed. There's nothing more on which to levy." Said Statesman Z to Statesman A, "The deficit each moment waxes. This is no time for us to fail. We will decree a tax on taxes." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Kashmira Song by Juma. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. You never loved me, and yet, to save me, one unforgettable night you gave me such chill embraces as the snow-covered heights receive from clouds in northern, auroral nights. Such keen communion as the frozen mere has with immaculate moonlight, cold and clear. And all desire, like failing fire, died slowly, faded surely, and sank to rest against the delicate chillness of your breast. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Kubla Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Read by Tony Addison. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. So 'twas 5 miles of fertile ground, with walls and towers were girdled round, and there were gardens bright with sinuous rills, where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree, and here were forests ancient as the hills, enfolding sunny spots of greenery. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill of the water Siran Kaba, a savage place, as holy and enchanted as e'er beneath a waning moon was haunted by woman wailing for her demon lover. And from this chasm with ceaseless turmoil seething, as if this earth in fast thick pants were breathing, a mighty fountain momently was forced, amid whose swift half-intermitted burst huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. And mid these dancing rocks, at once and ever, it flung up momently the sacred river. 5 miles meandering with a mazy motion, through wood and dale the sacred river ran, then reached the caverns measureless to man, and sank in tumult to a lifeless ocean. And mid this tumult Kubla heard from far ancestral voices prophesying war. The shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountain and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice. A damsel with a dulcimer in a vision once I saw. It was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played, singing of Mount Tabora. Could I revive within me her symphony and song, to such a deep delight it would win me, that with music loud and long I should build that dome in air, that sunny dome, those caves of ice, and all who heard should see them there, and all should cry, beware, beware, his flashing eyes, his floating hair. Weave a circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread, for he on honey dew hath fed, and drunk the milk of paradise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The London Bobby, a tribute to the policeman of England's capital, by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, read for LibriVox.org by Melissa Hoffman. Here in my cozy corner before a blazing log, I'm thinking of cold London wrapped in its killing fog, and like a shining beacon above the picture grim, I see the London Bobby and sing my song for him. I see his stalwart figure, I see his kindly face, I hear his helpful answer at any hour or place. For though you seek some byway long miles from his own beat, he tells you all about it, and how to find the street. He looks like some bold Viking, this king of earth's police, yet in his voice lies feeling, and in his eye lies peace. He knows and does his duty, what higher praise is there? And London's lords and paupers alike receive his care. He has a regal bearing, yet one that breathes repose. It is the look and manner of one who thinks and knows. O men who govern nations, in old worlds or in new, turn to the London Bobby and learn a thing or two. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
For I Will Consider My Cat Geoffrey by Christopher Smart. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Addison. For I will consider my cat Geoffrey, for he is the servant of the living God, duly and daily serving him. For at the first glance of the glory of God in the east, he worships in his way. For is this done by wreathing his body 7 times round with elegant quickness? For then he leaps up to catch the musk, which is the blessing of God upon his prayer. For he rolls upon prank to work it in. For having done duty and received blessing, he begins to consider himself. For this he performs in 10 degrees. For first he looks upon his forepaws to see if they are clean. For secondly, he kicks up behind to clear away there. For thirdly, he works it upon stretch with the forepaws extended. For fourthly, he sharpens his paws by wood. For fifthly, he washes himself. For sixthly, he rolls upon wash. For seventhly, he flakes himself, that he may not be interrupted upon the beat. For eighthly, he rubs himself against a post. For ninthly, he looks up for his instructions. For tenthly, he goes in quest of food. For having considered God and himself, he will consider his neighbour. For if he meets another cat, he will kiss her in kindness. For when he takes his prey, he plays with it to give it a chance. For 1 mouse in 7 escapes by his dallying. For when his day's work is done, his business more properly begins. For he keeps the Lord's watch in the night against the adversary. For he counteracts the powers of darkness by his electrical skin and glaring eyes. For he counteracts the devil, who is death, by brisking about the life. For in his morning orisons he loves the sun, and the sun loves him. For he is of the tribe of tiger. For the cherub cat is a term of the angel tiger. For he has the subtlety and hissing of a serpent, which in goodness he suppresses. For he will not do destruction if he is well fed, neither will he spit without provocation. For he purrs in thankfulness when God tells him he's a good cat. For he is an instrument for the children to learn benevolence upon. For every house is incomplete without him, and a blessing is lacking in the spirit. For the Lord commanded Moses concerning the cats at the departure of the children of Israel from Egypt. For every family had 1 cat at least in the bag. For the English cats are the best in Europe. For he is the cleanest in the use of his forepaws of any quadruped. For the dexterity of his defence is an instance of the love of God to him exceedingly. For he is the quickest to his mark of any creature. For he is tenacious of his point. For he is a mixture of gravity and waggery. For he knows that God is his Saviour. For there is nothing sweeter than his peace when at rest. For there is nothing brisker than his life when in motion. For he is of the Lord's poor, and so indeed is he called by benevolence perpetually. Poor Geoffrey, poor Geoffrey, the rat has bit thy throat. For I bless the name of the Lord Jesus that Geoffrey is better. For the divine spirit comes about his body to sustain it in complete cat. For his tongue is exceeding pure, so that it has in purity what it wants in music. For he is docile and can learn certain things. For he can sit up with gravity, which is patience upon approbation. For he can fetch and carry, which is patience in employment. For he can jump over a stick, which is patience upon proof positive. For he can spraggle upon waggle at the word of command. For he can jump from an eminence into his master's bosom. For he can catch the cork and toss it again. For he is hated by the hypocrite and the miser. For the former is afraid of detection, for the latter refuses the charge. For he camels his back to bear the first notion of business. For he is good to think on, if a man would express himself neatly. For he made a great figure in Egypt for his signal services. For he killed the Ichneumon rat, very pernicious by land. For his ears are so acute that they sting again. For from this proceeds the passing quickness of his attention. For by stroking of him I have found out electricity. For I perceive God's light about him, both wax and fire. For the electrical fire is the spiritual substance which God sends from heaven to sustain the bodies both of man and beast. For God has blessed him in the variety of his movements. For though he cannot fly, he is an excellent clamberer. for his motions upon the face of the earth are more than any other quadruped, for he can tread to all the measures upon the music, for he can swim for life, for he can creep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Natural Selection by Constance Naden, read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. I had found out a gift for my fair, I had found where the cavemen were laid. Skull, femur, and pelvis were there, and spears that of silex they made. But he ne'er could be true, she averred, who would dig up an ancestor's grave, and I loved her the more when I heard such filial regard for the cave. My shelves, they are furnished with stones, all sorted and labelled with care, and a splendid collection of bones, each one of them ancient and rare. One would think she might like to retire to my study, she calls it a hole. Not a fossil I heard her admire, but I begged it, or borrowed, or stole. But there comes an idealess lad, with a strut, and a stare, and a smirk. And I watch, scientific though sad, the law of selection at work. Of science he hasn't a trace, he seeks not the how and the why, but he sings with an amateur's grace, and he dances much better than I. And we know the more dandified males by dance and by song win their wives. 'Tis a law that with Aves prevails, and even in Homo survives. Shall I rage as they whirl in the valse? Shall I sneer as they carol and coo? Ah, no, for since Chloe is false, I'm certain that Darwin is true. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Night in the City by Ellis Parker Butler. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The sluggish clouds hang low upon the town, and from yon lamp, in chilled and sodden rays, the feeble light gropes through the heavy mist and dies, extinguished in the stagnant maze. From moisty eaves the drops fall slowly down, to strike with leaden sound the walk below. And in dark, murky pools upon the street the water stands, as lacking life to flow. With hopeless brain, oppressed and sad at heart, toil's careworn slave turns out his flickering light, and treads in dreams his dulling round again, where weary day succeeds to dismal night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I'm an Old Black Kettle by Louisa May Alcott. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. I'm an old black kettle with a very crooked nose, but I can't help being gay when the jolly fire glows. I'm everybody's servant, there's no end to my toil, and all my days are spent in an everlasting boil. In my smoky corner here no holidays I see, yet all Christmas feasts were spoiled without me. So contentedly I work, and hope yet to be told I'm a good and faithful kettle, though ugly, black, and old. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Persuasions to Joy, a Song, by Thomas Carew. LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. If the quick spirits in your eye now languish and anon must die, if every sweet and every grace must fly from that forsaken face, then, Celia, let us reap our joys ere time such goodly fruit destroys. Or if that golden fleece must grow for ever free from aged snow, if those bright suns must know no shade, nor your fresh beauties ever fade, then fear not, Celia, to bestow what, still being gathered, still must grow. Thus either time his sickle brings in vain, or else in vain his wings. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Peter Quince at the Clavier by Wallace Stevens. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. 1. Just as my fingers on these keys make music, so the self-same sounds on my spirit make a music too. Music is feeling, then, not sound. And thus it is that what I feel here in this room, desiring you, thinking of your blue-shadowed silk, is music. It is like the strain waked in the elders by Susanna. Of a green evening, clear and warm, she bathed in her still garden, while the red-eyed elders, watching, felt the bases of their beings throb in witching chords, and their thin blood pulse pizzicati of Hosanna. 2. In the green water, clear and warm, Susanna lay. She searched the touch of springs, and found concealed imaginings. She sighed for so much melody. Upon the bank she stood in the cool of spent emotions. She felt among the leaves the dew of old devotions. She walked upon the grass, still quavering. The winds were like her maids on timid feet, fetching her woven scarves, yet wavering. A breath upon her hand muted the night. She turned, a cymbal crashed, and roaring horns. 3. Soon, with a noise like tambourines, came her attendant Byzantines. They wondered why Susanna cried against the elders by her side, and as they whispered, the refrain was like a willow swept by rain. Anon their lamps' uplifted flame revealed Susanna and her shame. And then the simpering Byzantines fled with a noise like tambourines. 4. Beauty is momentary in the mind, the fitful tracing of a portal, but in the flesh it is immortal. The body dies, the body's beauty lives. So evenings die, in their green going, a wave interminably flowing. So gardens die, their meek breath scenting the cowl of winter done repenting. So maidens die, to the auroral celebration of a maiden's choral. Susanna's music touched the body strings of those white elders, but escaping, left only death's ironic scraping. Now, in its immortality, it plays on the clear viol of her memory, and makes a constant sacrament of praise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Praise and Prayer by Sir William Davenant. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. Praise is devotion fit for mighty minds, the differing worlds agreeing sacrifice, where heaven divided faiths united finds, but prayer in various discord upward flies. For prayer the ocean is where diversely men steer their course, each to a several coast, where all our interests so discordant be that half beg winds by which the rest are lost. By penitence when we ourselves forsake, 'tis but in wise design on piteous heaven. In praise we nobly give what God may take, and are without a beggar's blush forgiven. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Question by Ellis Parker Butler. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Whene'er I feed the barnyard folk, my gentle soul is vexed. My sensibilities are torn, and I am sore perplexed. The rooster so politely stands while waiting for his food, but when I feed him, what a change! He then is rough and rude. He crowds his gentle wives aside, or pecks them on the head. Sometimes I think it would be best if he were never fed. And so I often stand for hours, deciding which is right, to impolitely have enough, or starve and be polite. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Reeds of Runnymede, Magna Carta, June 15, 1215, by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org by David Wales. At Runnymede, what say the reeds at Runnymede? The lissome reeds that give and take, that bend so far but never break. They keep the sleepy Thames awake with tales of John at Runnymede. At Runnymede, oh, hear the reeds at Runnymede. You mustn't sell, delay, deny a freeman's right or liberty. It wakes the stubborn Englishry we saw 'em roused at Runnymede. When through our ranks the barons came, with little thought of praise or blame, but resolute to play the game, they lumbered up to Runnymede. And there they launched in solid line the first attack on right divine, the curt, uncompromising sign that settled John at Runnymede. At Runnymede, your rights were won at Runnymede. No freeman shall be fined or bound or dispossessed of freehold ground, except by lawful judgment found and passed upon him by his peers. Forget not, after all these years, the charter signed at Runnymede. And still, when mob or monarch lays too rude a hand on English ways, the whisper wakes, the shudder plays across the reeds at Runnymede, and Thames, that knows the moods of kings and crowds and priests and such like things, rolls deep and dreadful as he brings their warning down from Runnymede. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sir Patrick Spence, Scottish Anonymous, read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. The king sits in Dunfermline town, drinking the bluid reed wine. Oh, where will I get a skeely skipper to sail this new ship of mine? Oh, up in Spacken Eldenknecht sat at the king's recht knee. Sir Patrick Spence is the best sailor that ever sailed the sea. Our king has written a braid letter and sealed it with his hand, and sent it to Sir Patrick Spence, was walking on the strand. To Norroway, to Norroway, to Norroway o'er the faem, the king's dochter of Norroway, this thou maun bring her hame. The first word that Sir Patrick read said loud, loud, laucht he. The next word that Sir Patrick read, the tear blended his ee. Oh, why is this has done this deed, and told the king of me, to send us out at this time o' year to sail upon the sea? Be it wind, be it weet, be it hail, be it sleet, our ship maun sail the faem. The king's dochter of Norroway, 'tis we maun fetch her hame. They hoisted their sails on morning day morn, wi' all the speed they may. They hae landed in Norroway upon a warden's day. Make ready, my merry men a', our good ship sails the morn. Now ere alack, my master dear, I fear a deadly storm. I saw the new moon late yestreen wi' the auld moon in her arm, and if we gang to sea, master, I fear we'll come to harm. They hadna sailed a league but barely 3, when the lift grew dark and the wind blew loud, and gurly grew the sea. The anchors brak and the topmaist lap, it was sic a deadly storm, and the waves cam ower the broken ship, till a' her sides were torn. Go fetch a web of silken claith, nither of the twine, and wap them into our ship's side, and let nae the sea come in. They fetched a web of the silken claith, and nither of the twine, and they wapped them round that good ship's side, but still the sea came in. Oh, laith, laith were our good Scots lords to weet their cork-heeled shoon, but lang or a' the play was played, they wat their hats aboon. And mony was the feather bed that flattered on the fame, and mony was the good lord's son that never mair cam hame. Oh, lang, lang may the ladies sit with their fans into their hand, afore they see Sir Patrick Spence come sailing tae the strand. And lang, lang may the maidens sit with their gowd kames in their hair, a-waiting for their ain dear loves, for them they'll see nae mair. Half o'er to Aberdour, 'tis 50 fathoms deep, and there lies good Sir Patrick Spence, with the Scots lords at his feet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
They Flee From Me by Sir Thomas Wyatt. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Addison. They flee from me that sometime did me seek, with naked foot, stalking in my chamber. I have seen them gentle, tame, and meek, that now are wild, and do not remember that sometime they put themselves in danger to take bread at my hand. And now they range, busily seeking, with a continual change. Thanked be fortune, it hath been otherwise, 20 times better. But once, in special, in thin array, after a pleasant guise, when her loose gown from her shoulders did fall, and she me caught in her arms long and small, therewithal sweetly did me kiss, and softly said, Dear heart, how like you this? It was no dream, I lay broad waking, but all is turned through my gentleness into a strange fashion of forsaking, and I have leave to go of her goodness, and she also to use newfangleness. But since that I so kindly am served, I would fain know what she hath deserved. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
"13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird" by Wallace Stevens. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. 1. Among 20 snowy mountains, the only moving thing was the eye of the blackbird. 2. I was of 3 minds, like a tree in which there are 3 blackbirds. 3. The blackbird whirled in the autumn wind. It was a small part of the pantomime. 4. A man and a woman are one. A man and a woman and a blackbird are one. 5. I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of inflections or the beauty of innuendos, the blackbird whistling or just after. 6. Icicles filled the window with barbaric glass. The shadow of the blackbird crossed it, to and fro. The mood traced in the shadow an indecipherable cause. 7. O thin men of Haddam, why do you imagine golden birds? Do you not see how the blackbird walks around the feet of the women about you? 8. I know noble accents and lucid, inescapable rhythms, but I know, too, that the blackbird is involved in what I know. 9. When the blackbird flew out of sight, it marked the edge of one of many circles. 10. At the sight of blackbirds flying in a green light, even the bawds of euphony would cry out sharply. 11. He rode over Connecticut in a glass coach. Once a fear pierced him, in that he mistook the shadow of his equipage for blackbirds. 12. The river is moving. The blackbird must be flying. 13. It was evening all afternoon. It was snowing, and it was going to snow. The blackbird sat in the cedar limbs. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Time by Jasper Mayne. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. Time is the feathered thing, and whilst I praise the sparklings of thy looks and call them rays, takes wing, leaving behind him as he flies an unperceived dimness in thine eyes. His minutes, whilst they're told, do make us old, and every sand of his fleet glass, increasing age as it doth pass, insensibly sows wrinkles there where flowers and roses do appear. Whilst we do speak, our fire doth into ice expire, flames turn to frost, and ere we can know how our crow turns swan, or how a silver snow springs there where jet did grow, our fading spring is in dull winter lost, since then the night hath hurled darkness, love's shade, over its enemy the day, and made the world just such a blind and shapeless thing, as 'twas before light did from darkness spring. Let us employ its treasure, and make shade pleasure. Let's number out the hours by blisses, and count the minutes by our kisses. Let the heavens new motions feel, and by our embraces wheel. And whilst we try the way by which love doth convey soul unto soul, and mingling so makes them such raptures know as makes them entranced lie in mutual ecstasy, let the harmonious spheres in music roll. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To America by James Weldon Johnson. Read for LibriVox.org by Sky Albatross. How would you have us? As we are? Or sinking 'neath the load we bear? Our eyes fixed forward on a star? Or gazing empty at despair? Rising or falling? Men or things? With dragging pace or footsteps fleet? Strong willing sinews in your wings? Or tightening chains about your feet? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Two Little Shadows by Anonymous. LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. I saw a young mother with eyes full of laughter, and two little shadows came following after. Wherever she moved, they were always right there, holding onto her skirts, hanging onto her chair, before her, behind her, an adhesive pair. Don't you ever get weary as day after day your two little tag-alongs get in your way? She smiled as she shook her pretty young head, and I'll always remember the words that she said. It's good to have shadows that run when you run, that laugh when you're happy, and hum when you hum, for you only have shadows when your life's filled with sun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The One o' Right and Cant by Henry Lawson. Read for LibriVox.org by Son of the Exiles. The One o' Right and Cant. It watched me in the cradle laid, and from my boyhood's home it glared above my shoulder blade when I wrote my first poem. It's sidled by me ever since, with greeny eyes aslant. It is the thing, O priest and prince, that wants to write but can't. It yells and slobbers, mows and whines, it follows everywhere. 'Tis gloating on these very lines with red and baleful glare. It murders friendship, love and truth, it makes the reader pant. It ruins editorial youth, the One o' Right and Cant. Its slime is ever on my work and ever on my name. No toil nor trouble does it shirk, for it will write all the same. It tantalised when great thoughts burned in trouble and in want. It makes it hell for all concerned, the One o' Right and Cant. And now that I would gladly die or rest my weary mind, I cannot rest to think that I must leave the thing behind. Its green rot damns the dead for sure, the greatest curse extant. 'Twill kill Australian literature, the One o' Right and Cant. You cannot kill or keep it still or ease it off a bit. It talks about itself until the world believes in it. It is a scare, a fright, a ghast, a gibber and a rant, a future horror and a past, the One o' Right and Cant. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.